Now, we've never had a situation where we get a guaranteed champion without summoning a single shard. And that is the situation we have woken up to today with this monster path, the hero path for Alatreon Blademaster. Now, yes, this morning I've released a video. I 100% expected there to be a shard summoning aspect to this Monster Hunter path because it's a guaranteed champion. We've never had a situation where you don't have to summon something in order to get a guaranteed champion. But this one is exclusively champion training and summoning souls. Now, the summoning souls aspect has always been okay as a third source of points, but on its own, it's not a replacement for shard summoning. Pretty much what you're going to be doing for this event is leveling up champions and offsetting with some shards you may have gotten from Hydra or some rewards, like I picked up my tier 2 immortal stone from the champion training yesterday. You'll offset it, but they won't actually contribute a huge amount of points unless you are using the eternal soul stones. And to be honest, when I first did this math, I was sat here laughing. I thought it was so terrible because the numbers that were coming out of my spreadsheet, we always do a breakdown, we'll do that in a moment, was showing like crazy amounts of numbers. And then when I've actually double checked and looked at it, and this is a lesson to everyone, check your math before you actually do any video content or any sort of confirmation. I was talking to my clan and my clan was like, are you sure these numbers are correct? You've got to, these seems very expensive. And I had actually removed the XP boost from 12.3 in my spreadsheet calculation. So when I've recalculated it, this is actually a pretty good hero's path. Like, it's pretty good. Now, we all know the typical price point of a guaranteed champion is about 15 to 20 sacred. Now, if you put a price tag on that, sacreds normally sell for, on a good day, $20. So if you're going to ask for 20 sacreds on $20, that is, of course, $400, right? That's the price point if you were just buying stuff normally that they would probably put a guaranteed champion at. Now, because it says champion training, there's several ways for you to do it. You can do it through your backlog of brews, chickens. You can do it through a backlog of energy and gems that you have stored up. There's lots of ways that you can do this event. And what we've got here is basically a guaranteed champion and a guaranteed 5-star soul for just training, alongside some legendary books. There's a mythical tome, mythical chaos ore. This is very valuable. There's not many of these available, and we're getting a lot more mythical gear now since the City of Centranos. There's primal shards, got some dust and powder, and more importantly as well, there's titan points. If you want that Zenogre soul, you can't ignore this path, because I said this morning I thought it was going to be 350 points. It's actually 280 points. So I was a little bit under, but it's still more than what you can afford to lose, right? You can afford to lose 250 points. You're going to need to do some of this path if you want that 5-star soul, at least down to this middle bit here. 40 is not going to be enough. You're going to need to go and probably get the 100. Otherwise, you have no space. You'd have to commit to like all these summoning events. So how are you going to approach this path, right? So there's two paths. There's the champion path and there's the soul path. The left-hand side is the champion path. The right-hand side is the soul path. You're going to go down this left-hand path here. You're going to basically get the fan and you're going to get this epic book. Then you're going to get stuck because you need 2 event keys. So you absolutely will then have to go and get these rank rarity charm here. This rarity charm is or rank charm. I always mix up the two. This greater oil. And then you're going to buy the 6-star legendary chaos ore, which you probably don't want, but you're going to buy it anyway. And then you're going to get 2 of these keys. That unlocks the rest of this path. You get the void shard, the key, the thing, and then you get your Alatreon. Now, if you want to actually go deep and go hard and get this 5-star soul, then you will have to start on the right-hand path. Now, you don't have to go and get this immortal essence because you've already unlocked the left-hand path if you've got the champion as well. You just need to go down this left-hand path and you're going to get stuck again. You need 2 of these keys, which means you're going to have to use your 1 key that you got from the champion path to unlock one of these paths here. And you're either going to want the Chaos Dust from Sand Devil or the Shogun. I would suggest the Chaos Dust is more valuable because it's much harder to reroll the top level gear because there's more options, whereas the bottom level gear, for example, you're rerolling an amulet into one of 4 options, right? You either want, well, one of 3 options because you can't get the same thing back, right? So it's much easier to reroll an amulet and a ring than it is to reroll, say, gloves, which could have like 6 different things. So I would definitely say if you want to go for something, get the Chaos Dust. It's probably a bit more valuable. Go down the left here, get your legendary book, and then you get 3 event keys. Those 3 event keys can be used to unlock this side, and then you can go down and get your last event key here and sort of the book and the soul. Now, I will say if you are looking at this path and going, I haven't got enough to do everything, get the champion over the soul. It's obvious, but it's worth saying that the champion is always more important. And I will add, this is an exclusive champion. This is going to be the best opportunity for you to get this champion. And I would say probably the cheapest. As much as this looks really scary up front, the math actually suggests it's not too bad, and it's probably one of the most forgiving guaranteed events we've ever had, beyond those who will sit in the comments and say, well, I can save my shards, I don't have to do this. I'm doing it on a like-for-like value. So that is how you will approach the path. You absolutely will need to get these two in the middle, regardless of whether you just go for one or the other. Now, there are Titan points available. So in my spreadsheet that I'm going to show you in a minute, I've looked at basically a path to get the Alatreon, a path to get the Alatreon and the Soul, a path to just get the Soul, because maybe you've pulled Alatreon already and all you care about is the Soul, so how expensive is that going to be? And then, of course, the path to just get your Titan points. And I always like to do a path to get to a single Legendary book, because I think for a lot of players, you know, Legendary books are still very valuable. They love to see the champion training events with Legendary books. So I always do a sort of a points breakdown to get yourself a single Legendary book to see how much that's going to cost you in these paths. Because you will pick up points along the way as you play the game. It's champion training. There's lots of different things. You will acquire some points regardless of what you do. So let me do a math breakdown here and I'll show you how expensive this is going to be and what you need to do to get it done. So as with all these path events, I put together a spreadsheet here and I'll release this in the description of the video so you can take a copy and sort of mess with it and modify it as much as you like. I normally log in all the data here of all the different rewards you can get, the price points, how much they cost. Pretty much it's all about the same. An event key is about 1,000. It's always been about 1,000. Epic books are always about 4,000. Titan points is always very difficult because it depends on the Titan event. But they seem to be okay, not too expensive. Chaos Dust is a brand new cost at 6,000. They basically valuing it the same as a Chaos Ore. Seems about fair. And then Legendary books are about 10,000. They're always about 10,000. Mythical Tome 20,000, double the Legendary. And of course, we've got these things. So I've constructed these 5 paths here. So if you want the Alatreon, the guaranteed champion, is going to cost you 107,000 points. If you want the Soul, it's a little bit cheaper at 99,750. If you just want a book, it's about 38,000. That is on a bit of the higher scale. Normally a book is around about 25,000 to 30,000, so it's a little bit more expensive. If you want the Soul and Champion combined, it's 223,000 points. And if you want the Titan points only, just collecting only all the Titan points, all 280, is 53,750. So let's just quickly talk over the Souls. We are going to get 7,500 for an Eternal Soul Stone, 1,500 for Immortal, and 100 for Mortal. This works very much like the way that Ancient, Void, and Sacred works. You really don't want to do these paths with Ancient Shards, and it's the same really things. It's the same with Mortal. They're not very good for it. Immortal and Eternal is the way to go if you want to do it this way, but as you will see over here, it's a lot of shards. It is quite a lot of shards. It's going to be about 14 Eternal Shards, Eternal Soul Stones if you want the Champion, or 72 Immortal, or 1,000 Mortal. That's why I said the Mortal is just not the way to go. It's quite expensive. You're going to use this Souls as offset for your training. The way to do this path is training. It is not stones. You're going to offset it. Unless you absolutely just cannot be bothered with training, then you can just crack it out and buy this if you want. But I mean, even the Alatreon is super expensive. Now, I've done a bit of a price comparison based on shards costing $1 per Mortal Soulstone, 3.5 for Immortal, and 25 for an Eternal. It's roughly what they charge and sell and price it. You could say the Eternals are a little bit cheaper sometimes. But just as a price point here, you can see you're talking for this champion, it's about $350. Now, that's not actually that bad when you compare it to the 20 sacred shards, right? If you buy 20 sacred shards, it's about $400. So 250 to 350 in souls is actually cheaper than if you were buying the shards. So granted, you don't get the champions with those shards. That's always a factor. But if we're just looking at the item, the cost, and a one-to-one comparison, then they haven't made it so that it's more expensive in souls, if that makes sense. It's just that it's a different currency. It's a different item that you're buying. So it's about $250 to $359 for the Alatreon. But if you want it combined, we're talking $750. It's way too expensive. So stones, soul stones are offset. Use what you've acquired, top off your training, but training is the way to go. Now, just a quick summary of the training. We don't get Dungeon Diver contribution. I was going to go through this event here and actually do the first time a look at how training works if I was doing Dragon 20 with food versus campaign. But then I realized it's actually pointless because you don't get Dungeon Diver points. So you're not going to want to do this any other way other than campaign. So we don't get any contribution from campaign, unfortunately, this time. But the next time we have a hero's path with training and Dungeon Divers, I will absolutely do that analysis of, is it better to do champion training through campaign, Or is it better to go into something like Dragon 20 or Dragon 24 or 25 and run 4 food and solo it? Is that better? Because I know a lot of people have asked for that analysis. So the points are the same. They haven't modified them. The way we're going to calculate this is if we are partially level in rank 4s to 14 and rank 5s to 25. There is probably a more efficient way to do it with rank 3s, but I find that tedious. And I might review it and I might assess it and see what it does. If it does change, I will update the spreadsheet that I link in the description if I do look and find a better, more efficient way to do it. But normally I will level rank 4 to 14 and rank 5 to 25 because those partial points are energy efficient. So how are we going to work this out? We're going to basically have 2 forms of point acquisition. I call it making food or making champions. You're either going to make food, which is taking champions up to rank 5 and leaving them at level 25, as in you've created a chicken for a potential rank 6, or you're going to make champions, which is making a rank 6 champion with that food that you create. Making a champion is going to be less efficient than making food because you've got to get them all up and then you've got to get that level. You've got to get that rank 5 to level 50 and then upgrade it. That's a lot of energy you will consume to do this. Now, this doesn't take into account any brews you've got, barrels, feasts. All these things are offset. They can be, reducing the energy down. There's lots of different ways to do it. This is purely by running campaign to give you an energy breakdown of how much campaign exclusively you'd have to run. So we have down here the energy requirements. So in order for you to get 1 rank 5, that means making rank 2s to rank 3, rank 3s to rank 4, partially leveling the rank 4s and making a rank 4 to rank 5, and then partially leveling that rank 5. That process takes about 3.3 million experience, which means on 12.3 you're going to do about 129 brutal runs, up to the equation of 1034. Now, when I first calculated this, I made an error over on my chart on the right here. I did actually have just the individual per champion. So originally I thought it was about 115,000 energy. Make sure you check your math. If you're doing anything, you're doing any schoolwork, anything that's important, make sure you double check your math, double check your code. You never know when you've got a weird bug in there. So this is about 1034. Running 12.6 Nightmare is technically going to be a little bit more energy efficient. And I would suggest if you can do it under 22 seconds, it's going to save you a lot of time considering the volume of training you're going to need to do. So I would definitely consider 12.6, unless there's some sort of Dungeon Divers event going on. It's probably a good idea to do 12.6 over 12.3, just purely because of the time and volume of training you're going to need to do for this path. Now, if you want to make a rank 6, we obviously have to make 5 rank 5s, so that's going to cost you a lot more. It takes about 19.7 million experience, which is around about a 761 12.3 or 337 12.6. You can really see the value of 12.6. It's going to save you a lot of time. The reason why I compare 12.3 to 12.6, I know a lot of people say, well, 12.6 brutal has more experience, but generally I feel like if people are going to run brutal, they'll go 12.3 because they'll generate more silver. And the only reason why we only ever run 12.6 Nightmares, the target defenses, the enemy defenses are significantly lower. They're about 3,000 defense lower. So you really want to run 12.6 Nightmare because it's easier. But 12.3 and 12.6, you have a choice. And I think people will prefer the silver based on Cursed City of Sintrano. So as much as it's not a like-for-like comparison, I think it's better to do it this way. I think it's more appropriate to what people are going to do. So it's about 6,000 energy or 5,392. Now, I've got my paths configured here, all the different points we require. So you can see if you just want the champion, Alatreon alone, we're not going to get any campaign bonus this time. Normally we get some bonus points from Dungeon Divers from campaign. That's not in the path this time. It's going to cost you about 4.33 champions, rank 6 champions. It's quite a lot to do in 4 days. Or you're going to need to make 22 rank 2 to rank 5. Now, if you want to make both the soul and the champion a reality, you're talking 46 rank 5 champions in 4 days. It's the path of the hermit. You're going to be basically locked in to your house for 4 days and you're not going to see sunlight if you want to do both of those paths. It is an absolute trucking grind. That is the way to describe it. Even if you offset it with souls, this number isn't going to go down much. It's just a lot of work. Now, if you want to get the legendary box, about 7 rank 5s, it's pretty good. And if you want just the soul, it is about 20 of those. So let's take it through to the analysis, because what really most people care about is how much energy is this going to cost me? That's what people care about. How much energy is this going to cost me? Well, we can see the souls are all configured here, how many you need. And then I've got the points down here, and then I've mapped it now to the number of energies you're going to need, how much energy you're going to need. And I've configured this based on 12.3 brutal, not nightmare. You will save a bit on nightmare, but it's about 5,000 energy. It's not crazy. So what are we looking at here? It's about 22,872 energy on the most cheapest way possible, which is making food. Food is cheaper in terms of energy for the Alatreon Soul. 22,872, or the Alatreon combined is, so the combined is basically with the Soul, it's about 47,496 energy. Now that sounds scary. It really does. It sounds really expensive. But when you actually reverse engineer how much energy per, how much one energy per dollar actually is in terms of the overall sale value, it works out something like 0.0046 is the rough sort of dollar per energy rate. So if we actually take this total combined for the champion and then times it with our base rate, you can see it's only about $105. And I say only because obviously it's still $100 for a champion in the game. That's still crazy. But in the context of what we were talking about, which is 20 sacred shards for a guaranteed champion, this is about 25% the value of any other guaranteed summoning event we've had. And it's also an exclusive champion, so it would be considered more desirable, more rarer. They could have pushed the price up. So actually only charging $105 for this in terms of pure raw energy, assuming you do the way that I've done it with the partial leveling and going through 12 Brutal with your XP boost. That doesn't include anything like raid cards or anything extra like that. It's just a standard leveling process. That's pretty good. That's pretty good going. Now, you obviously can offset it with your stones. So this calculator that I'll have uploaded, you can enter your soul stones here, and you can also pick the path you're working towards, right? So if you're working towards the combined, you can pick that legendary book, whatever you want. So if you were going just for the Alatreon, you could go for, say like I'm going to have 48 stones, which is my 10 from Hydra plus my daily today. I've already got 36, and I've got about 850 coins. I know there's some Mortal Soul coins on the Spider tournament as well. Maybe you've done that, so that'll give you some points. And I've got one Immortal Soul that I got from the Champion training event yesterday. So I'm going to be able to save myself about $10 or about $6 worth of energy, because this is what I mean about the stones. You'll offset the overall points. You're not going to use the stones. So that's going to basically take 6,300 off my requirements. So that's going to save me about 1,000 energy. Now, obviously, if I did want to look at this from a Nightmare perspective, it would be about 20,259 energy. So you can see Nightmare is going to save you about 2,500 energy. It's significant. If you can do it, I'd recommend it purely based on time. It's going to take you a lot less time and runs to do it. You're going to do far less campaign running. So, if I look at my situation here, there's also a Monster Hunter coin pack out right now, which is about $60 for the whole thing. There's two at $15 each. They give you, I think, 9,750. And then there's also a 22,750, I think, for $30. So basically the two packs here, they are going to give you around about 42,250 points for about $60. So if you take those packs just as an analysis to see if they're worth buying over energy, because sometimes you're just like, I just don't care, I just want the path done. 42, 250, you can use this offset, and you can see that's going to reduce your energy requirements down to 12,000. If we look at a cost per thing, we're saying if you spend $60 for those Monster Hunter coins to basically just go cut my run time down in half, right? Then it's going to be around about, if I take my souls off here, 105, it's going to drop it down to 63. So in all honesty, the soul coins might be a pretty good purchase as well in terms of a price point. If you just wanted to spend some money to get it done, if you'd already allocated some money because you knew the path was coming and you thought it was going to be shard summoning, then for $60, you can cut your energy training in half. And that's only going to require you to make 13 rank 5s at a tune of 13,000. And again, if we put it into Nightmare, 12,000. That seems much more reasonable. And as I said, when I first saw the numbers, I thought it was crazy because I messed up my math. But actually, when you really drill down, you get past all the negativity around various different things. It's a pretty good deal in the context of raid. I'm not saying it's a great deal overall, but in the context of where we've had previous guaranteed summoning events where it's been 20 sacred shards. I mean, we had a Roxanne Heroes path that had 32 sacred shards. 32, put that in context. The last Fiery Singles path with Kira the Watcher was 22 sacred shards. Now, I know a lot of people like myself have been saving with the shards and now going, I'm going to have to do training, and it's a very long grind. But if you actually do the numbers here, I think I got to kind of say they've done a fair job, maybe. Is it fair? I don't know. Maybe you can let me know in the comments below. I think in the context of things, considering most of us need to do rank 6 training for Cintranos anyway, is it that much of a bad thing? It could have been a lot worse. So there you go. So that is the math breakdown of this. I will include this spreadsheet in the description of the video so that you can use it for yourself. You can use this calculator to see how many points and how much energy you're going to need, offset it however way you want. The 5 paths that I've created here is the Titan points, Alatreon, legendary books. Now, if you don't really care about Alatreon, you just want the Titan points, by the way, it's about 11,000 training. And I would definitely recommend you get some of those Titan points because you want to give yourself enough flexibility that if you don't want to do the summon rush on Friday, or you don't want to do the champion chase that's probably going to be included in the Titan event path, you can only skip 250 points. Don't lose it straight out of the bat. That's what I would suggest. Just quickly before we end the video here, I just want to look at the Lunar Titan event that is now live. The big thing I think most people are going to be talking about, and I can see it already, is that there are no split souls for the Xenogray Perfect Soul. It's all or nothing. You have to do it all or you get nothing when it comes to the soul, which I totally understand is a point of frustration. But what I will say is 600 points for a legendary book, that's pretty good. That's pretty fair. That's a really good deal. You're going to pick up 600 points by playing the game. You're going to do a few turn attack tournaments. You're probably going to do some classic arena tournaments. They're pretty free wins. You might do some dungeon divers events. You might have to upgrade some artifacts. You're going to pick up Titan points without doing much effort unless you decide just not to play the game for the next 3 weeks, because this is probably going to run until the next fusion, I'd have thought either it'll cross over the fusion by like a few days, or it's going to run for that event. So getting a legendary book for just playing the game seems pretty fair. Immortal Soul Coins here, 500. That's going to basically equate to about 2 weeks worth of Iron Twins and Hydra. So that's a pretty good deal. We get some mythical charms. In my opinion, one of the most valuable resources in the game right now, because you can make perception mythical gear. You can make lethal mythical gear. It's the best way to get mythical gear by far. Certainly mythical gear that you can use. We're getting a lot of mythical gear in Centranas, but a lot of it is 5-star. This gives you access to 6-star mythical gear. It's very, very good. These charms are worth their weight in gold. So that's pretty nice. And then we get these rewards are always pretty low, not so good. 750 is all right. These are all okay. And then we get up to sort of the big boy stuff. We're getting some chaos dust. This 5 chaos dust roughly equates to about 1,000 energy. So that's pretty nice. Immortal soul stones, mythical tome. So even if you think you can't get all the way to this endpoint, and about 30 to 40% of these points will be through directly summoning. So it's about 1750 points. I would say about 750 of those points will come from summoning in some capacity. Then you've got to keep that in mind. You should know pretty much straight away if you're going to be able to do this. If you can't do the path at all, then you already know you don't need to chase this soul. If you can't get this soul, chase at least up to, I would say, around about this point here, right? The Void Shard, if you can. It's a pretty good point to do. If you can get up into these tier, the Superior Oil and the Superior Extract, again, it's thousands of energy to farm these things. It's a lot of energy, so you're going to save yourself a lot of time. If it's an activity you don't care about, then it's far less valuable. But for endgame players, this milestone 5, these are all rewards that we are chasing. We are farming Sand Devil for dust like it's no tomorrow. We're chasing Eternal Soul Coins so we can get essences. Mythical Chaos Ores, 6 stars, are very valuable now. We're getting a lot of mythical gear, as I said. So I understand the frustration. I do think that the split souls would have been a better system. But on the other side, the fact that there is no split souls means that there is a mythical tome as a rank 5 milestone. There is a legendary book as a rank 3 milestone, whereas that probably would have been a perfect soul and these would have sat closer up here. I know people are getting stuck up on as well, like Plarium play points. I get it. Yeah, I understand. But in the overall scheme of things, I think getting a legendary book for just playing the game is a pretty good deal. So there you go, guys. The Monster Path breakdown, the Lunar Titan event. I'm probably going to low life this, I guess, because I'm such a collector. I'm a completionist. I can't not have the champion. I don't know if I'm going to go for the soul, but I definitely see the value in going for the champion. You can never get it again after March. It's the easiest way to get it. It's pretty cheap from a shard point of view. It means actually I was worried about summoning all of these shards and then going over to the summon rush that's going to happen on Friday. Will I have enough for the Lunar event for the 5 stars Xenogray? I was kind of worried about it, but now it's much more easier for me. There is also a Prism shard system. I nearly forgot about this. The Archer is available in the Prism event. So far, we don't know what points, what tournaments, if they're going to add any at all that contains prisms. So we'll have to see. My position with Prism system has always been, as long as everyone can get a free summon every single event, then it's good. The moment you can never get a free summon, this is bad. That's my position. There's a 5% summon for 25 shards. One thing I tend to do, and I think this is like worth shouting out here. Look, I have 5 prisms right now. So if you're a very, very low spender, like you buy the daily gem pack, I often, if I have enough here, will buy one of these $5 just for one shot at the one shot at the king kind of thing, right? Because it's a 5% legendary chance. These prism rates are way better than any other shard in the game, right? I've got 6 champions. So if I roll the 5%, it's a 1 in 6 chance I'm going to get one of these champions that I really want. You will never find a better odd than that in the game. We're talking, it's a 16% chance that if I roll legendary, it's going to be the champion that I want. That is way better than the progressive event. It's way better than everything else, just because of the way that the champions roll, right? Progressive events only get up to good numbers once you get to like 25, and even then it still doesn't beat these rates. So absolutely, it is the best way to get targeted legendary champions if you can get the roll. So sometimes it's worth a $5 investment because you get one thing, and sometimes you get lucky. I'm not advocating spending. I'm just highlighting these are like ways that a low spender can take advantage of this type of system if you have a little bit left and you can make one summon from it. But as I said, this should always be with Prism systems, should always be one available summon in every single Prism event they do through events, right? I should be able to chase at least one summon. If I have no summons available and the only way to do it is to spend, then the system is a failure, in my opinion. So there you go, guys. That is the end of the video. Let me know in the comments below, how are you feeling about this event? I was initially like distraught. It actually took me about 20 minutes to stop laughing when I first looked at my numbers, but then I realized I actually got the numbers completely wrong. So as I mentioned, always check your math. I actually think it's probably one of the cheapest guaranteed champions we've ever had. And if you're willing to basically become a hermit for 4 days, you can get yourself a 5-star Alatreon soul as well with it. So let me know in the comments below, and I'll catch you in the next video.